The night everything changed. It was a chilly October night when I first sensed a shift. Tiffany had gone out with her friends, or at least that's what she had told me. I stayed home, casually sipping a beer, flipping through channels without really watching anything. 7 years of marriage had made me familiar with her habits, the small things that defined her. But that night, something felt off. Her text earlier had been brief. Heading home soon. Love you. Simple. Ordinary. But I could detect the forced cheerfulness behind it. She walked in just after midnight, laughter still lingering on her lips, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. Her hair was slightly disheveled, her cheeks flushed, and there was a scent on her, something unfamiliar, something heavier, muskier, a man's cologne. I didn't react immediately. Instead, I observed her carefully as she slipped off her shoes and casually tossed her bag onto the counter. Had a good time? I asked, keeping my tone even. She smiled too quickly. Yeah, it was great. Just drinks and catching up, the usual. She looked away as she said it. A dead giveaway. I nodded, pretending to accept her answer, but my gut told me otherwise. I knew my wife, and something was different. She sank into the couch, phone in hand, scrolling through her screen, chuckling softly, but the way she held it, tucked close to her chest, was different, almost protective, almost secretive. I took another sip of my beer, keeping my expression neutral. There was no reason to jump to conclusions. Not yet. It was better to wait, to watch, to let the truth reveal itself. Days passed, and Tiffany carried on as if nothing had changed, or at least she wanted it to seem that way. She laughed at my jokes, kissed me goodnight, and sent me little texts throughout the day. To anyone else, it would seem like everything was fine. But I wasn't just anyone. That gnawing feeling in my gut refused to go away. Then, on Friday night, she mentioned going out again. Another girls' night? I asked casually. She nodded while fastening her earrings. Yeah, Amber and Katie want to check out that new bar downtown. I studied her for a moment. She looked different, too put together. A sleek black dress I hadn't seen her wear in months. Her hair styled in soft waves. Perfume a touch stronger than usual. All right, I said finally. Have fun. She kissed me quickly, grabbed her bag, and threw a casual, "Don't wait up," over her shoulder. I waited anyway. An hour later, my phone rang. It was Mark, my best friend. "Hey, man," I answered. He didn't waste time on greetings. His voice was low, urgent. "Trevor, listen, I'm at that new bar right now. Tiffany's here." I sat up straighter. "Yeah, I know. She said she was out with the girls." Mark hesitated. "She is. But there are guys here, too." My grip tightened on the phone. "What do you mean?" "I mean," he exhaled, "I've been watching her for the last half hour. She's getting real close with one of them, laughing, touching his arm, hugging him. Man, it looks like flirting to me." Everything inside me went ice cold. "I'm coming," I said, already grabbing my keys. I drove like a man on a mission, knuckles white against the steering wheel, my jaw clenched so hard it ached. The thought of Tiffany, my wife, smiling, touching, flirting with another man made my blood burn. But just minutes before I arrived, Mark called again. "They're leaving." I gritted my teeth. "Are you sure?" "Yeah. She and the others just got into an Uber. The guy she was with went with them too. Not sure where they're headed." I exhaled sharply. "All right, I'll see you soon." By the time I pulled up to the bar, the place was still buzzing with people. I spotted Mark near the entrance, finishing off a beer, and I knew this wasn't over. I approached Mark, my voice firm. "Tell me everything." He let out a slow breath. She wasn't all over him or anything, but it wasn't just friendly either. She leaned in close, laughed at everything he said, touched his arm. He met my gaze, his expression serious. It didn't look like how a married woman should act, Trevor. I didn't respond right away, just gave a small nod. "You okay?" Mark asked. "Yeah," I said, my voice even. "I'm good." But I wasn't. I left the bar, drove home, and sat in the living room, waiting. 1 hour passed. Then another. and another. By the time the clock hit 2 a.m., I finally heard the front door creak open. Tiffany walked in, the scent of alcohol clinging to her, her cheeks flushed. I stood. "Where were you?" She kicked off her heels with ease. "I told you. We went to that new bar downtown." Her tone was smooth, practiced. I tilted my head, slightly. "That's strange. I was talking to Mark earlier. He was at that bar too, but he never mentioned seeing you there." For the briefest second, something flickered across her face. Shock, hesitation. Then just as quickly, it was gone. "Oh, yeah, we actually ended up going somewhere else after that," she said, rubbing her forehead as if piecing the night together. Maybe we had already left by the time he got there. I studied her. She was lying. I could see in the way her eyes shifted, in the slight tension in her posture. But I didn't press her. Not yet. I simply nodded, letting it slide. She smiled, walking past me toward the stairs. But as I watched her go, the doubt in my mind solidified into something heavier. I wasn't imagining things. Something was wrong. And I was going to find out what. The next morning, Tiffany stood in the kitchen, humming softly as she flipped pancakes. It was a light, cheerful sound, like a woman without a single worry, like someone who hadn't just stumbled in at 2 a.m. with a flimsy excuse. She moved easily, relaxed, the same way she always did after a night out. To anyone else, she looked carefree, but I knew better. Then her phone vibrated against the counter. She didn't check it. That was odd. Tiffany never ignored her phone. Instagram, work emails, group chats. There was always something pulling her attention, even if it was just out of habit. She moved around the kitchen as if she hadn't noticed it. But something in the way she deliberately avoided looking at the screen made my stomach clench. Another buzz. I glanced at her, then at the phone, just as the screen lit up. Landon, a name I didn't recognize. My pulse pounded in my ears. It could have been innocent. A co-worker, a friend, but that same instinct that had been gnawing at me last night was back, stronger than ever. "Who's Landon?" I asked casually, nodding toward her phone. She barely looked up from the stove. "Oh, just someone from work. He's in marketing. We were discussing a campaign last week." Too smooth, too rehearsed. I nodded as if I believed her, but something was off. Tiffany didn't work in marketing. She was in finance. What campaign? And why would she be discussing work this early in the morning? Her phone buzzed again. This time, I noticed a slight tension in her fingers as she gripped the spatula just a little too tightly. The way her lips pressed together for the briefest second, as if steadying herself. She was nervous. She was hiding something. But she didn't check the message. Instead, she moved through the kitchen like it was any other normal morning. Then she leaned over, pressed a quick kiss to my cheek, and headed upstairs to shower, like she wasn't lying to my face. I waited until I heard the water running. Then I reached for her phone. We never kept secrets. She knew my passcode, and I knew hers. I knew her passcode. Without a second thought, I entered it, and in an instant, everything I believed about my wife came crashing down. Last night was incredible. I can still taste you. My chest tightened. My vision blurred as I scrolled further. Wish we had more time. I miss you already. Then came the pictures. Tiffany at a dimly lit restaurant, wine glass in hand, leaning in close to a man I didn't recognize. She was smiling, laughing, radiant. This wasn't a single lapse in judgment. The messages stretched back for months, longer than I wanted to believe. Hotel reservations, inside jokes, plans for the future. Pet names whispered between them. I gripped the phone tighter, my knuckles turning white. These weren't just messages of lust. They were something deeper, familiar, intimate. The kind of connection that comes with time, trust, and something real. This wasn't just a fling. It was a full-blown relationship. And I was the idiot who never saw it coming. A few moments later, the water shut off upstairs. I inhaled sharply, forcing myself to set the phone back exactly where I found it. My hands felt rigid, my movements deliberate. I listened as she moved around, the soft creak of the floorboards as she dressed. completely unaware that her carefully built deception had just crumbled. She'd come downstairs soon, smiling like the perfect wife, like she hadn't just destroyed everything we had. I gripped the edge of the table, my jaw clenched. Now wasn't the time to act. Not yet. The next morning, I woke up with clarity and a plan. Her phone held all the proof I needed, but I wanted more. Something undeniable. Something she couldn't explain away. That same day, I hired a private investigator. Someone discreet, professional, someone who had uncovered this kind of betrayal more times than I could count. Follow her, I instructed. Get everything you can. I need photos, videos, receipts. Anything that proves this is real. The investigator gave a single nod. Give me a week. I barely had to wait that long. By the third day, I had it all. Photos of Tiffany kissing Landon in a dimly lit parking lot, their hands intertwined as they entered a hotel, spending the night together. Undeniable, inarguable. I didn't feel hurt anymore. Just cold, unwavering resolve. That afternoon, I met with my lawyer. I laid out every detail, every piece of evidence, every betrayal. There was no hesitation in my voice when I told him exactly what I wanted, a divorce on my terms. The house was mine, purchased before the marriage, making it untouchable. With the right legal steps, she wouldn't get a single cent of what I'd built. My lawyer assured me everything was in my favor. The paperwork was filed. The wheels were in motion. All that remained was removing her from my life for good. That night, Tiffany was getting ready to go out again. Girls' night, she said casually, grabbing her purse, pressing a kiss to my cheek like nothing had changed. Like she wasn't walking out on our marriage for the 100th time. I watched her leave without a word. The moment the door shut behind her, I reached for my phone and made the call. The locksmith arrived within the hour. Change them all, I said. He didn't ask questions. Just got to work. By the time he was done, Tiffany no longer had a way back inside my home. And she never would again. I headed upstairs, grabbed every last one of her belongings, and packed them into suitcases. Clothes, shoes, makeup, jewelry, even those ridiculous scented candles she loved. I didn't leave a single thing behind. Then I waited. At 3 a.m., the sound of her keys scraping against the lock echoed through the house. Again and again, she tried. Then came the knocking, then pounding, then her voice, irritated and confused. What the hell? I took my time walking to the door, letting the moment stretch before finally pulling it open. Her face was a mix of frustration and disbelief. Trevor, the key isn't working. I crossed my arms. Yeah, because I changed the locks. She blinked, stunned. What? I didn't answer. Instead, I reached for a folder beside me, the one filled with photos from the private investigator. I held out, flipping it open to the shots of her and Landon, kissing in a parking lot, holding hands, disappearing into a hotel. Color drained from her face. Trevor. We're done. I cut her off. I know everything. She went rigid, staring at the evidence as if sheer willpower could make it disappear. Trevor, it's not what it looks like. I let out a short, humorless laugh. Don't insult me, Tiffany. I know exactly what this is. Months of deception, sneaking around, sleeping with him, and then coming home to me like nothing ever happened. Her eyes welled up, the crocodile tears coming on cue. Please, just let me explain. I raised a hand. There's nothing left to say. You don't live here anymore. She gasped as I stepped aside, revealing the neatly stacked suitcases by the door. Take your things, I said, my voice devoid of emotion, and leave. Her mouth open and close, her breath coming in short, frantic bursts. You can't. I already filed for divorce. I cut in, my words sharp. And this is just the beginning. That's when she broke, sobbing, begging. Trevor, please, we can fix this. I shook my head. No, Tiffany, you broke this, and I'm done cleaning up your mess. Then I did something she never expected. I grabbed her suitcases and carried them outside myself. She stood motionless in the doorway, watching in stunned silence as I placed them neatly on the porch. When I turned back, Her face was pale, her eyes wide with disbelief. Goodbye, Tiffany. With that, I shut the door in her face. The divorce. It was swift and brutal. Tiffany tried, of course. She played the remorseful wife, the woman who had made a mistake and just wanted to fix things. She cried in court, pleaded with my lawyer, even sent me long, desperate texts professing her love. But none of it mattered. I had proof. Every lie, every betrayal, every moment she thought she had hidden. It was all there in black and white. My lawyer dismantled her claims with precision, piece by piece, until there was nothing left for her to grasp onto. By the time it was over, she walked away with nothing. The house? Mine. The savings? She didn't see a dime. And Landon? Well, she moved in with him almost immediately. Maybe she thought they had something real, that he was worth throwing away 7 years of marriage, that he would be her future. But it only lasted 4 months. One day, through the grapevine, I heard he dumped her. No warning, no explanation, just gone, moving forward. As for me, I didn't waste time mourning something that had never been real. The house, the place where I had spent years waiting for her, wondering where she was, who she was with, felt like a tomb, a monument to a love that had died long before I knew it. So I sold it, left the city, started over, and for the first time in years, I felt free. No more lies, no more doubts, no more lying awake at night, wondering what she was doing behind my back. I was done, and it felt damn good. Thanks for watching.